beasts, aren't they? Chuffed to bits. The smallest little thornback. I'm just concentrating on not losing the rod over the side. And his eyes. He's got amazing eyes. Doggy in the boat. Golden mullet. There's a bit of weight to that, you know. And that's what we want, don't we? We don't want the same all the time. We want something different, a good old show. Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm in the workshop, beavering away. And what am I up to? I'm in here making rigs. And a rig that I've been playing with, adjusting, using recently is the 2-hook clip down. And my arms are outstretched because the rig's about 4 foot long. Yeah, about just under 4 foot. And it's using Gemini Tackle, a breakaway Cascade Swivel, clipped straight onto a breakaway grip lead. And the whole thing is pretty straightforward. It's nice and simple, and it fishes really well. It gives you the chance to put 2 decent sized baits out at distance, and it sort of edges your bets on what you might catch. So I've been using it recently to fish for hounds, but the top snood has also been picking up bass, almost at the detriment of the hounds. If catching bass could be detrimental, but you know, that's what it does. So let's get straight into it. It's a nice simple rig, and I've got all the components. I've cut some line. I've got a few bits and pieces I need to use. For the rig body, I'm using 70-pound Asso. And I think 70 pounds enough because I'm casting 5-ounce grip weights. So using 70 pound, I've already cut this to length on marks on my bench, and this is 4 foot long. So we've got a 4 foot long rig body, and to the very end of that, as our stop point that our weight's going to clip to, is a Trident Termalink. So the knot for this is going to be very simple. It's going to be pretty much repetitive all the way through. It's the same one that Sandman's Tackle Time uses. So I thread through a couple of inches. I take 3 turns. I pass through the eye near the Termalink and take 3 turns. When you pull, lubricate your knot. When you pull this down, use a weight with the grip bit on it to pull it. It looks like a little tiny beehive, and the tag end sticks out the same way that the main line goes in. So that's the end. Using a set of nail clippers to trim my line, and these are Solent ones. Recommend these. Get these. They're cheaper than the fishing versions, and they're stainless steel, and they're good stainless steel. Keep a really nice sharp edge. So trim the tag end. Tag ends off. So we end up with 4 foot, or just under 4 foot now because I've just trimmed some off. 4 foot rig body with a Termalink on the end. And looking at my rig, I look all the way up, and really the business part now is threading on some components for the Cascade element of it. And the Cascade element of it requires, and I am using, I know some people don't like them, crimps. So I'm using Gemini Crimps, and I'm using a crimping tool. So I'm going to get a couple of these out. Very difficult to get out of the packet. So I'm going to thread 1 crimp on. Easier said than done, especially my little sausage fingers. So 1 crimp on. Now I need a bead. Using little 4mm beads, nothing special. Very cheap to buy them in bulk. Prefer to use these nice little small ones for this kind of rig. I'm going to feed on one of the 4mm beads, and I'll show you all in a minute once I've threaded it all on, so you get a better picture. And then the working part for this is the Cascade Swivel, just so the camera can focus in. You've got to be careful where you place these because there's a definite up and a down way, and they have to be in the right orientation. So if I hold that Cascade Swivel by the Cascade wire, there's a longer end and a shorter end. The longer end goes to the top and it hooks over, and that is the orientation it needs to be in. And I'll show you in a minute once I've got it all on. So that's the Cascade Swivel. and another bead. And the crimp. And that is the bottom cascade element. So if we look at that now, we have got a Termalink, a crimp, a bead, a breakaway cascade swivel, a bead and a crimp. Just straighten that up so it looks all neat and tidy. That's all the components that we threaded on. We've got to thread another set of components on now, and this is for the tensioning aspect of it. So I am choosing to use the Gemini SRT spring. So first up, I need another crimp. And get two out at the same time. So I thread a crimp on. I know threading crimps and stuff onto the line isn't really a spectator sport, but you got me to look at. And I'm looking at it because I've fine-tuned this down, I've used it a few times. I'm not going to put a bead on top of that. I'm going to go straight for the SRT spring. And this is just minimising components. I think the kit itself likes you to use a small bead. I'm throwing caution to the wind, I'm not using it. So I've threaded the SRT spring on, and then just quickly double checking. Now I need a small bead either side of the hook snood swivel. So we'll get two small beads out, two little clear beads. These are weeny little beads, these ones. Hard for my sausage fingers to hold on to, even harder for my eyes to see. And then the snood swivel, I'm using the Gemini 40-pound snood swivels. I do like Gemini components. They are nice. Good quality. Just a little bit expensive. If Gemini could bring the prices down a little bit, that would be very much appreciated. And then top that snood swiveled off with another bead, another little clear bead. When I've got all these components on, we'll have a look and I'll give you a good show. Don't need the top crimp, so I'm going to save a crimp, but what I do need is a £100 power swivel. I'm going to go with a £100 power swivel at the top of the rig. And the £100 power swivel, just give you a quick close-up. You go through the swivel, give yourself 2 or 3 inches of tag end, 1, 2, 3 turns, back through the eye, and then back through the loop, 1, 2, 3. Lubricate the knot, give yourself something to actually pull your component tight down with, seat the knot down, make sure it doesn't slip. Just have a quick look, get that little beehive effect, and trim the tag end. That is the rig now fully captive between a Termalink and a power swivel. The power swivel is what you would clip on to your shock leader, and this would be your rig. To look at all the components in close-up that are threaded on but not set yet, we have the Termalink, a crimp, a bead, a cascade swivel, a bead, a crimp, an SRT spring, a 45-pound snood swivel between 2 small beads, all the way up to the power swivel at the top. And that is the main body of the rig. For the hook snoods, I'm going for 40-pound amnesia, which may seem a little bit butch, but with the chance of a hound, and this rig I am expecting to pick hounds up on this, 40-pound amnesia is my preferred. Now the easy way to measure out the hook snoods is to go from the Termalink to the power swivel and cut it, double it up So you're in effect halving what you've just measured. Snip it nice and accurately. So you've got 2 equal length snoods. When you tie the knots on here, the shortening of these will make it the right length to go on the rig body. So to the hooks themselves, I'm using Sakuma Manta 540 540s size 3/0 hooks. So I'm going to tie one single hook on each of these snoods. So we've got our 2 equal length snoods. Same knot as before. What I do is I hook my finger, size 3 and 4, 5/0 hooks. This works perfectly, keeps it out of harm's way. I make my loop with my tag end and I go 1, 2, 3, through the eye and then back through 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Lubricate knot. I've got my finger inside the hook, well away from the hook point. Draw it down, get the little beehive and trim the tag end. That is one hook snood ready to tie on. And I'm going to tie it onto the Cascade Swivel at the bottom. Same knot as we just shown. 1, 2, 3. Through the eye. 1, 2, 3. Lubricate the knot. Lubricate, not lubricate. Comms failure then. Draw it down nice and tight and cut off the tag end. So that's one hook snood attached. And get the second one. The benefit of this, it's really streamlined for casting, but you can put 2 reasonable sized baits on, which are attractive to things like hounds, rays, bass, all that good stuff. So we just tie this hook on. Can't talk and count at the same time. 2, 3. Got a job to count and breathe at the same time, let alone count, talk and breathe. 2, 3. Draw that knot down nice and tight. Clip the tag end. And this goes onto the 45-pound snood swivel, which is a teeny weeny, it is a very small swivel. Same knot all the way through, no variation. 1, 2, 3, through the eye. 1, 2, 3. You know it's coming towards the end of the day when you can hear the seagulls getting ready to go back out to sea. And trim off the tag end. So what we've got now is a little bit of a mess. We've got an entire rig body with all its components, but nothing's set. Everything's just sat down the end, and we've got 2 hook snoods just flapping around in the breeze. This is where it's handy to hang your rig up. There's 2 ways of doing this. You can invert it, turn it upside down, but this rig that I'm making is specifically going to be used with these weights. So I need to set the rig with those weights on. So I'm just going to attach one. And attach the hook into the weight itself so it's captive. And lift it up with my fingers. And with my crimping pliers, I'm going to tension the rig and crimp into place. And that's the first hook snood positioned. I'm going to then grip the second crimp and lift it ever so slightly to give a little bit of room so that the swivel can flex and move around. We then move up to the second snood, put it in the Cascade Swivel, link it in nicely, get our crimping pliers into the crimp. Now this time we need to tension this spring ever so slightly, about 10mm is about right, and then crimp in place. And then when we release it, the whole rig is nicely in tension and would be good for casting. Now with all the rigs, because I've got time in the workshop now, I always like to make sure that they do function correctly, so that when I take them to the beach and you've got less time and all the other bits and pieces, and you want to spend your time fishing, not adjusting rigs, I like to check them. So I'll put a little bit of tension into it, lift the water shield, the lifting aspect, and you see it ejects the hooks when you don't get a hook in the eye, and both of my snoods have fallen clear. And what you'll also find is they can't, once they've fallen clear, they can't hook themselves. Because they're the same length, they won't reach each other. And then when that fish is at an angle, back to your rod tip, you've got two snoods, one that's firm on the bottom, one that's able to flutter and move either on the bottom or just off the bottom. Very attractive to bass. The bottom one's very attractive to rays and hounds. And there it is. It's sort of, rather than a scratching rig with small hooks and small line, you could downscale this whole rig and make it a lot smaller, a lot lighter. This is specifically how I fish at the moment, edging my bets when I'm out for hounds, bass, rays, and I want to put two baits out, but at distance. So this is the 2-hook clip down rig as I make it, a variation of many other different versions of the same thing, but give it a try. Give it a try and let me know how you get on in the comments. Watch the video, and if you can see things that you would change, things that you don't like, things that you do like, things that you think could be adjusted or different, put it in the comments. Let's have a discussion about it. Make all of our rigs that little bit better. If this gives you even a slight idea of something to do or change on yours, happy days. Everything's good. So there we have it. The 2-hook clip down rig. As always, it's been a pleasure spending time with you. Tight lines and happy fishing. I hope to see you sometime again, sometime soon. From me, for now, from here, it's goodbye. Take care, and I'll see you soon.